What's up guys, how's it going, and welcome to another video. Now in today's video you are going to be doing a listening exercise and we're going to be joined with a very special guest. I'm going to be asking him some questions about his childhood and about his life in general. So I want you guys to listen as carefully as possible and try and pick up as much information as you can. At the end, I'm going to give you a short quiz to test some of the things that were said during the interview. Without further ado, let's get to it. Hi guys, how's it going? So as you can see, I have a very special guest today. I am here with my dad, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little interview. But without further ado, I will let my dad introduce himself. So would you like to tell everyone who you are?
Hello, my name's Paul. I am 64 years of age. I was born in 1956 and I've had a interesting past, fairly checkered. I've been to many different countries, but originally I was brought up in Canada for 5 years and then I moved to Ireland, where I lived till I was 13 years old on my grandfather's farm.
So I just wanted, sorry to interrupt, could you just give us a little bit more information, because now you live in, well, we live in the southeast of England, but you mentioned there that you grew up in Ireland, so I'm sure the listeners would like to know a bit more information about that. What was it like growing up there?
It was very basic. No electricity. We had cold water. We had to, if you wanted a bath, you had to heat the water and pour it into a big container and then get into it. The house was very cold, so cold on occasions that you could scrape ice off the inside of the windows. I used to sleep in all of my clothes. The only warm place that you could go to was the kitchen, where they had a cooker which was fed with peat to cook on. No electricity, as I just said, to make light, so we used to use oil lamps and candles. So it sounds a little old-fashioned and a bit from like history many years ago, but this was fairly recent. This was only 50 odd years ago and was the norm for a lot of people out there. Didn't harm any people, and I didn't really think anything different. It was part of life. It was normal.
And what were your surroundings like? You mentioned that it was on a farm, so was it you surrounded by countryside, or?
It was surrounded by countryside down a big long drive near a very tiny village, and there was a great big river that ran along the back of the house, and as you looked out from the house there was a great big courtyard with lots of other small houses around it, which is where all the farm workers used to live, because obviously no electricity, no real machinery. It was all done by human power and horses and donkeys. And I used to ride up and down the drive in a two-wheeled carriage, like a cart thing, with a donkey, pretending I was something out of Gladiator.
So you learned how to control it and do all of that stuff?
Oh yes, that was quite normal. So if we needed anything, I was put onto the donkey cart and sent off to get it.
To the local supermarket, or
no supermarkets?
No supermarkets.
No supermarkets at all. If you wanted a chicken to roast, you would have to go down the road to a lady called Mrs. Highcorn, and you'd pick a chicken and she would hand you a live chicken which you would take back. My granddad used to catch fish and shoot geese and ducks. Because it was a dairy farm, he had beef on there, but it was mainly for milking, so all the corn was grown to keep the cows fed, and the milk was then sold to the local shops, cheese, etc., etc.
And what sort of things were there to do? In your free time, what did you do?
Not a lot other than fishing, wandering around in the woods, and mushroom picking from time to time, playing around in all the barns, cycling my grandmother's bicycle, which was a great big black monster of a machine, bird hunting, looking for birds' nests, playing out in the woods. Really, I didn't have many people I could play with, so a lot of it was imagination.
So you didn't have any neighbours?
No, other than the farm workers, who weren't really interested in me because they had their own lives to be getting on with.
Did you enjoy yourself when you were in Ireland? Was it fun for you?
Yes, so I always look back with fondness, I have to say. I have great memories, but lots of people don't believe me when I say, well, there was no electricity, and I used to have to clean my teeth outside where I would pump water with a big pump, and used to have to pour water in the top so it would get suction, pump it, the water would come up from a well, and then I would clean my teeth and wash my face in freezing cold water with ice out on the ground. But it was normal. I didn't think anything of it.
So when you moved, was it a contrast, or?
Very much so. To have electricity, to be able to switch a light on and have central heating, as opposed to wearing my clothes all day and then wearing them to bed all night.
Because you were also, I think everyone would like to know, you were also the army you left home quite early and then joined the army.
Well, I did. I got a job working in a factory, which wasn't very exciting, was very, very boring. And then one day I decided I would join the army, but I didn't have any exams, so I had to study privately to do my exams and then go for the army interview with my exams, which I passed. It was a 4-day selection because I wanted to be an army officer. And I went to a college, a world famous college called Sandhurst, which was the Royal Military College for officers in the UK. Studied there and worked very hard for 6 months to then become a second lieutenant, and was then posted to a regiment, and off I went with my army career. I did that for 5 years, and when I left the army I obviously liked discipline to a degree, so I joined the police force, which was very different from the army in many, many different ways. But I enjoyed my time as much in the police force as I did in the army. It taught me a lot.
Where were you based when you were in the police force?
I was based in a police station at the back of Chelsea,
which is in
London.
London, yeah.
So my area that I used to cover was Knightsbridge in London, Victoria in London, and Chelsea in London. They were the beats that I used to go on. I used to work 3 different shifts, so I would do an early shift, which was 6 o'clock start in the morning. I'd do a late shift, which was a 2 o'clock start in the afternoon, and then I would do a night shift, which was a 10 o'clock start at night. And then you would do a week of each of those shifts, and then you would have 4 days off before you started the shifts all over again. Really, really enjoyed it.
Hard work, though?
It was hard work. It was very challenging work, as no doubt people see for any police force on the news or television, and some of the difficult things that you have to do. But I learnt a lot about self-discipline, and I also learnt a lot that as a 16-year-old who was told that I wouldn't really have any future at all because I had no exams, I got on pretty well, I have to say, in life, and anything I've ever wanted to do, I've always managed to do. And like anything in life, there's always obstacles and hurdles that you have to overcome. But if you set your mind to it, generally you will do okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I'm sure the listeners appreciate your time. And guys, if you would like to see part 2, because you have a lot of stories to tell, I know you travelled a lot. So if you guys would like to see a part 2, let me know down in the comments below. But now we are going to do a quick quiz, and I'm going to ask you some questions about my dad's life and about what he has just said. So once again, thank you very much.
No problem at all, Ben.
Thanks. How old is Paul? A. 54, B. 64, C. 60, or D. 55? B. 64. Where did Paul grow up? A. England, B. Ireland, C. Wales, or D. Scotland? B. Ireland. What did he scrape off the windows? A. Grass, B. Snow, C. Mud, or D. Ice? D. Ice. What animal did Paul like to ride? A. Donkey, B. Dog, C. Horse, or D. Sheep? A. Donkey. Where did Paul get a job before the army? A. A hospital, B. A farm, C. A factory, or D. A school? C. A factory. What did Paul do after the army? A. Joined the police, B. Worked at home, C. Studied at school, or D. Went to France? A. Joined the police. Where did he work as a policeman? A. Dublin, B. Liverpool, C. Newcastle, or D. Chelsea? D. Chelsea. So there we are, guys. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Maybe you thought the interview was too easy or perhaps too difficult. And if you would like to see more with my dad in the future, please let me know. Once again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.